Trusting your intuition will lead you to create a passionate and joy-filled life. Are you ready to get turned on to a new way of thinking? Are you ready to meet people who have conversations that speak to the things that truly light you up? What if you had access to a podcast that featured women just like you, who shared stories that empowered you to let go of a life tied to others' expectations and to start living in the now with passion and joy? I'm Jacqueline Rodriguez, founder of Your Intuitive Light Coaching, owner of Enlightened Styles Holistic Salon, and your host of the Intuitive Light podcast for the enlightened entrepreneur. My goal is to help women recognize how tightly they are tied to negative thoughts and other people's expectations, so that they can fully embrace and become the untethered CEO they've always wanted to be. You're about to meet some amazing women who will inspire you to untether yourself from any fears, negativity that you carry and become the untethered CEO of your life. This podcast is for you, woman, champion, warrior, entrepreneur, mother, phenomenon. Hello and welcome back to the Intuitive Light podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited. I think I probably say that every single episode, but I really am. I get such pleasure of being able to talk to so many amazing women. And today I have got Margarita here today, and she is a shamanistic medicine woman, new code of power, and mentor to spiritual entrepreneurs. And that sounds so amazing and fascinating. I cannot wait for you guys to hear all about her. So without further ado, here is Margarita.
Hey there,
Welcome.
Jacqueline. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, I think that everyone is going to be so fascinated to hear all about what you do. I know a ton, but tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you got into what you're doing.
Yeah, so it really, I've been doing a lot of my more power activation work in the past 3 years, but for about 11 years, I've actually been holding down a private practice as a healing practitioner in the heart of New York City. So it really began where I was a licensed acupuncturist, Reiki master teacher, and I really began that around 2009. And that's kind of where my healing journey began. But then as things continued, I also became a medicine woman in the Mayan Toltec tradition, and just really started doing that more in my intuitive work and my healing work and my private practice. But in the past 3 years, I did awaken as a starseed, and that kind of catapulted me into this larger work that I'm doing, which is really these power activations, really showing up for those who are spiritually conscious entrepreneurs, and really being of assistance on that planetary level. So that's really where I began and where I'm in now.
There's so many things in that I love. That you started with acupuncture and now you're doing these power activations, and we've talked a few times and you've said how you are helping activate the world. So for those people who don't really know what everything means, let us in on what exactly all of that means and how it helps really set people and set yourself apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, really, we're, as you know, and as you can feel and see and experience, we're in the middle of a planetary awakening right now. And so, I mean, and this actually began before, all this stuff started happening. However, it's really my mission to activate 1 million light workers into their power so that they can really step forward and in the fully activated state and make a difference in the world. Because that's really what happens when you are activated in your power, is that you are connected to your divine self in the most fullest of terms. And then you are fulfilling your purpose on this planet and your mission on this planet. And then your impact is tremendous, because when we're just kind of moving around in the dark and we're just trying our best and that kind of thing, it can be a little disconcerting at times, um, just kind of wing it, but then when you do have teachers and mentors, and you're also receiving work and elevating your own vibration, then you are up leveling your vibration and your frequency to a point that it can really be implemented in your work and your purposeful work, such as you doing your intuitive work and providing services in the world. It's that whole same thing of when you're activated on those divine levels. And what I do is that I activate those divine power codes on the DNA level, so that it becomes an embodiment versus, oh, I'd like to feel that, or I'd like to feel powerful, or I want to be powerful. It's that they feel in their bones that their power is awake and they're operating through the world with that embodiment. And then it exudes in their essence through everything that they're touching and every life they're connecting with. So does that help?
Oh, yeah. I think that's beautiful. And so much of that is, I know that I've told, all the audience and my clients and everything, it really is about connecting with your higher self and stepping into that power. Everybody has a different way of doing it, and there's so many different ways. And I think that the activations are beautiful, but really, it in layman's terms, it really is just stepping into your higher power, connecting with your higher self, and starting to take action and feel better about yourself so that you can start raising your vibration for the whole world. Because once we raise our vibration, it raises for everyone else. And that's really what is so important. And I'm 100% behind that mission, because I know that it's going to take so many people to start really raising the vibration of the planet and get through all these things that we're doing or that's happening right now.
Absolutely. And the whole thing with the activation work that I do, it's very much in alignment with that. And it actually accesses that new paradigm frequency and energy that's accelerated. So, and that's why I feel like this work started coming into my consciousness, like in the past 3 years, because it's time for humanity to access that accelerated frequency. So, and that's something that, my clients tap into for sure. So it's something that I'm really grateful I get to do.
No, it's such important work. So when we're talking about your clients and, simple things that we can think of, like what are some steps for our people to hear today that really could help them on this journey and sort of awaken them a little bit?
Yeah. Good question. So some steps that are tangible that they can apply in their lives so that they can start accessing their power is to, first of all, clear out, do the work internally on that spiritual stuff, whatever you're holding in your system that is aligned with, some outdated beliefs. So if there's any beliefs of you not being capable, you feeling disempowered, you giving your power away to others, that happens a lot, especially with light workers and spiritual people, is that they give their power away to others. So really noticing where we do that, and to, first of all, to stop doing that, and then to also reclaim our power, and really just recognize how capable we are. So every single time we do that internal work, and it's not just simply, let's eat better, feel better, get some healing sessions. I mean, all of that is helpful, but it's all, as this internal job where, you get to do that internal work to clear out those old patterns. Because if you don't, and you're still operating from these old belief systems that don't serve you, then you're going to go through life like that. And that's going to color how you show up in the world. And, it shows up in how we make money. It shows up in how we love or don't love, or how we feel fulfilled in our relationships or our careers. It shows up in everything. And so starting with doing that internal work, clearing out those old stories, inserting those higher vibrational primary timelines, into our lives that are aligned with our truth versus aligned with our fears. Because basically really getting clear on whatever is more aligned with fear, which is basically anything we're afraid of, anything that triggers us, anything that makes us very reactive, that is still tied somehow to pain, which is usually tied to fear. And so if there's something like that happening for you still, continue clearing that out so that you can really be in that higher vibrational state, so that you can stay focused. And really doing that internal work is number one. And then also being consistent with that internal work, because sometimes what I see with a lot of light workers and spiritual people is that they have this idea of, okay, awesome, I'm feeling on fleek, I'm feeling really spiritual, and then they're done, right? And it's like, as you know, it's like a consistent practice where, as for me, one thing that is one of my non-negotiables is meditating first thing in the morning. And, that sets my day. And then I also tap into great spirit and just like, do my work. And sometimes I do a little portal traveling and whatever, I need to do. But having a consistency with your practice is really important so that, it's this ongoing mastery. And so you can kind of approach life from that space. So I think those are some good, beginning steps to open up into your power.
Oh, most definitely. And I think that, for everyone watching, when she's talking about clearing out things, like we've got these, beliefs and these really deep rooted and crazy beliefs that sometimes don't really have anything to do with anything that we're actually experiencing. It's so far in and in our energy. So I know that is the moment that when I started my meditation practice and when I started really working on my energy and protecting my energy, from not giving too much, that helped. But the real change happened when I started changing those deep rooted beliefs all around me not being worthy enough. But it all stemmed from not thinking that I was worthy enough and not truly loving or trusting myself. And that's really what I teach my students. Like, you've got to love and trust yourself and in your intuition so that you can start stepping into that power. But you got to switch some of those beliefs, not some, all of them, but it is an ongoing thing. I've been, in this realm for a while now too. Does not mean that it's super easy. Things don't just come to you. You've got to continue the practice. You've got to continue to meditate and push yourself a little bit further and outside of that comfort zone. And I think that really applies not only with what you're talking about, but in, our world altogether, like especially as entrepreneurs. When we start getting comfortable, that's when our numbers start to drop and things just feel uneasy. So when we continue to push outside of our comfort zone, because we elevate, right? And each time we elevate, we get comfortable and then it's time to elevate again. So just keeping that in mind, that it's always a process and it's always that consistency that will truly bring that that transformation and
Yeah.
your journey.
And I love what you said about pushing beyond the comfort zone, because that's huge for a lot of spiritual folks, is that, they perceive that if it's not comfortable or if it feels strained on the slightest level, then it's a sign from the universe. And then, I got to stop what I'm doing. And this is not right it's not aligned with my higher self and all that, really honestly crap, that's not true, right? I mean, sometimes we feel the resistance because that's our ego pushing up against our higher self saying, come forward, step forward. It's your time, and then the ego's like, no, I need to be safe, and so then that there's that internal battle. But that's part of what a lot of spiritually inclined folks and spiritual entrepreneurs, and even those in the spiritual community, mistake. They mistake the resistance as a sign that they need to stop, or as a sign that, oh, this is my intuition telling me that it's not right. Right. And it's like, no, that's not your intuition. That's your fear. And you get to bust through your fear, and you get to transcend that so that you can show up in the world, because that is a limiting belief, whatever is, part of that resistance, So, and this often happens when spiritually conscious folks are being invited to get visible, when they're being invited to do a higher level of service. And I mean, it's guaranteed that you're going to bump up against your ego, and then you're going to be like, oh my God, should I stop? I mean, what should I do? What does this mean? And what that often means, about 99.99% of the time, is to bust through that block, and to transcend into your power. Because what people are looking for, they're looking for that higher level, but they sometimes are not willing to do what it takes to get to that higher level, which means getting uncomfortable, doing the harder work, showing up when it's better and easier and faster to just hang back and not doing anything. So it's really about, allowing yourself to have that courage to expand and go to the next level. Because if you don't, then you're going to stay where you are. And spiritually conscious entrepreneurs get to understand that, because that will impact your bottom line in the end. Because anywhere where you're holding back, that will also show up in your abundance. It'll show up in the amount of people you're working with. So it's just a natural correlation, and that's one thing that entrepreneurs and businesswomen, we tend to forget, that when we're not doing that internal work, that also shows up in our business, and so you do that internal work, especially if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's challenging or triggering for you. And then you actually see how that transcendence into that next level that you're experiencing influences in a positive way your bottom line with your business as well, meaning better impact, higher impact, and more abundance too.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for people to realize that. But I notice as women entrepreneurs, and this is one thing that really I love to dream big. I am a big dreamer. I love envisioning something so massive. But I notice that we don't do that enough. Not a lot of, especially women entrepreneurs, we do keep ourselves in a smaller bubble because we're always worried about what other people need from us. But allowing ourselves to dream bigger and allowing that ascension to happen, it does get uncomfortable. But one of the tools that I use is when I can really allow myself to dream that bigger dream, then it gives me motivation and helps push me through those hard times where I do want to have some of that resistance. Just having that bigger dream will help get you through that, because if we don't have them, then we do stay stuck, because we only think we can get this far out of our comfort zone, when really we're meant to do so much more, but we don't allow ourselves to even think that we can do that much more.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's a really important thing to just keep that in mind, that it's okay to grow and to think these massive dreams. And you don't have to know how to do it or anything like that. You just have to have the capability of being able to dream it up and allowing yourself the freedom that it could happen. And even the thought of it is stepping out of your comfort zone. And that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Well, the important thing about, having the dream is to allow yourself to open up into the possibilities, right? Because if you don't, then the dream dies and then it's done, right? And so that's what a lot of, because one thing that I've noticed with a lot of light workers and those in the spiritual community is that they have a dream for like a split second, and then they kill it with, well, what's logical? What's possible? like not what's possible, because that's when you're really in expansion, but they really start thinking, well, what's rational? What is logical for me to do? And what's interesting about that consideration is that, well, if you're truly a spiritual being and you're really truly cosmically inclined and tapped into the galaxy and all that stuff, then you're not thinking logically. It's not about being logical. It's about trusting the flow of what is here for you, because we are energetic beings, and, everything is energy and everything resonates at the vibration of frequency, and it's something that has been measured. It's something that can be augmented and reduced. It can be shifted and worked with. And, the faster that we can get out of it needs to look logical, it needs to be rational, it needs to be acceptable, then we can really allow our dreams to breathe and to grow. Because, interestingly enough, a lot of, spiritual business women, they have some dreams and then they kill it with, being rational and what's more logical to do or not. And then it's not a fully actualized dream. However, when you get into the openness of the possibility of what you want, and then you're like, this can actually happen. I can make this happen. And then you just go out of the box and be like, okay, I haven't done XYZ before, but let me check it out. Let me just try it out and just expand. And then from there, it's, really operating from that place of possibility rather than it needs to look a specific way, which can immediately constrain our dreams and what we manifest in the world.
Oh, most definitely. I was in a class quite a few years back, and I remember they're in the class and they were talking about, how much money do you want to make? Like, if you can make anything, like no limitations, how much money would you want to make? And you look around the class and everybody's sitting there and they're like, okay. And you see them like thinking. And what almost everybody in the class did was think logically, okay, so I make this much this year. And if I can double it or maybe triple it. Because I think they might have broken it down to like, okay, in a year, how much do you want to make? And 3 years, and then maybe like 5, right? But any number. But we kill all of the dreams because we think so logically with it. And I remember that moment because the teacher was going over that and seeing what everybody did, and then, explaining how we don't need to be logical about it. Like, literally don't think about how that's going to happen, because everybody was adding up what they made before and, playing it very safe. But if we start really just diving into that big number or that big dream that we have and releasing it out into the universe, then things start to always like shift into it to make it happen for us. But we kill the dream the second we start thinking logically. And that is what we mostly do, because that's what we're really taught to do. This is not a training that we receive when we're younger. We're very logical, which does serve us, but being able to step kind of outside of that is what is really going to send you to the next level and manifest all the things that you want. And I know it's happened for me multiple times, not knowing how I'm going to get something or, something that I wanted to do, just being able to truly trust that it was going to happen, raise my vibration, and then like the pieces just kind of came together in front of me like a puzzle and made things easy because I didn't worry about the how.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so what other things do you walk your clients through?
So what exactly do you mean?
Like, do you have a system, or we had talked before about a little bit of a system for your clients to help them kind of see what the possibilities are?
Mm-hmm. So I do bring them through a process. It's a 3-part process. It's usually kind of a natural flow of things. But what tends to happen is this awaken, activate, embody process that I implement with my clients. And so basically it's that initial stage of awakening into who they are and what they want to create in the world. And in this opening that they're having for themselves, they see themselves as a spiritual being. They might feel or awaken into their higher purpose. They might have a deep desire to go for that, and maybe for the first time in their lives, entertain what you and I had been discussing about that dream, opening into the dream, allowing it to breathe, allowing it to be created, and just seeing like, oh my God, this can actually be possible. And one thing, as when you first awaken, it's not all, like butterflies and tulips, like you start seeing that a lot of shit has hit the fan, and, like all the stuff you thought was real is actually not, or relationships that you thought were awesome are actually not supporting you. I mean, it's like that whole like, oh my God, what have I created in my life, right? And then you just become like mortified. And that's also part of the awakening process too. But it's also perfect, right? Like, I mean, it's that whole divine perfect process of, okay, I created this. I now get to shift this. I get to create what I want. And so that's that whole awakening, waking up to who you really are and what you really want. And then also, oh my God, I've been creating all this in the meantime, right? And shifting. And
It's
it's not,
crazy.
right?
It's when I realized that and I went through a process to open everything up, and then you get smacked with this, oh, so everything that you don't like in your life, guess who's been creating it? It's not happening to you. It's you. You're bringing that on. And that was a little bit of a rude awakening to figure out. But once I grasped that and I said, okay, so this is my doing, then the power in being able to change that and be the reason things change instead of just waiting for everybody else and everything else to figure itself out, right?
Yeah.
That was true power. That was the beauty of being able to see that and finally take ownership of it, because
Yeah.
we don't know what we don't know, right? Like, I never knew that. I really thought things just happen. I'm like, oh, this sucks. But I was bringing a lot of those things on. So it's an amazing thing to have that awakening, to go through that process. Even if it hurts a little bit at the beginning, you work through it so easily once you accept and you own it.
Yeah.
And
And, because you can't change anything if you're not aware of what it is,
yeah,
and so that's why the awakening stage is so important. And we're planetarily in that stage right now. And that's why there's so much upheaval and discord because, you have folks who are doing that work, like people who are probably checking out this podcast have probably been doing some internal work and spiritual work already. But there's a vast majority in the collective in our society that has not done that work, and so a lot of them are waking up into it for the first time, and they're realizing, oh my God, like either I've created my life, I'm not happy with my life, or look at our world, I'm not happy with what we've created. And I'm now realizing that I'm part of what created what's going on right now. Right. And so it's that whole awakening stage. And so waking up into that part. And then the second part that I bring my clients into is that activate stage, where that's when I actually do these sessions with my clients where I do tap into that new earth frequency that's very quick and accelerated, and really activate their power on the DNA level. So I'll bring in like, these power codes that are really linked to their divine. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's like awakening their divine codes in themselves, because everyone has them. But for the majority of us, if not all of us, there's been a programming, with humanity, not only of light, but also of negativity to keep us in this suppressed state in our power. And so the activations serve to awaken those codes that we all inherently have that are usually latent and wake them up so that, it's really us operating from that higher level frequency. So that's when I'll bring in those diamond sun codes, bringing in those star frequencies, the galactic rays, and, bringing in Gaia, because I also do a lot of work with Gaia. So, I'll bring in all these different levels of power and, activation to assist my clients into being activated into that accelerated field. That way they are awakened into that state. And then it segues into the third kind of level of my work with my clients, which is the embody state. And so that's when you just kind of enter into this just being, like, rather than it being a lovely concept of, yeah, great, I feel powerful, like, I mean, it's more like on the visceral level of my being, I know that I'm powerful and I know that I'm here to make a difference and I'm ready to go to it, right? And having that level of frequency where you can access that on a regular basis and just apply it. And then you make a deeper impact in the world, which we all want to make, right? And we each have our very specific ways of doing it, which are very unique to ourselves. And so, this process is what I share with my clients to really help them not only accelerate into that frequency, but then to quickly apply an anchor into Gaia's frequency and make it happen.
I love that process. I think it's so beautiful to be able to have the whole process going through from the beginning and then actually stepping in and feeling that power, because it feels amazing. When you have that power, like, there's nothing else that really can explain it, because you're so centered and confident in who you are, and you finally can go and move through to the more important things that you've wanted to do. That it's a wonderful, beautiful thing, especially for entrepreneurs, because that is what we're supposed to be. We're here to help so many other people so that they can move through to whatever it is, whether it is, a salon, or if you have a product. You're meant to put your stuff out there and change people's lives, and stepping into your power just helps so much more. And it not only helps your business, but every part of you, every little bit makes such a huge impact in how you conduct your entire life and the things you start manifesting.
Absolutely. Because, it's in the beginning, most people get into activating their power and embodying their power because they're unhappy with something in their lives. Usually it's because something like, whether it's their love life or they're in a day job that they hate. I mean, I hear that from a lot of spiritual folks a lot, is that I'm in this dead end job. It's, I hear them call it, it's very 3D, right? Like, and it may be, I mean, I was in that position as well. And then you realize that, oh, I brought this into my life so that I could learn that this is not what I want to be doing. Sometimes, you bring these things into your life so you can learn and move on from that, right? And it really infiltrates every aspect of your life, because and that's one thing that I think women and business women really kind of don't always put two to two together when it comes to their business, is that it's not just about the bottom line and let's make sure the numbers are all right, because of course you want that. Of course you want to make sure that your numbers are on point, and that you're doing what you want to be doing with your work. But what's often missing is this alignment piece, and it's like, how am I bringing that level of my higher self into this work so that it's all aligned. And because when you have that all together, then when you're showing up in the world in order to make impact with your business, everyone can feel it. right? Like everyone can feel your essence when you're talking or when you're providing an offer or when you're showing up for your client. Like it just shows up because it's oozing out of your system, right? And when it's aligned like that, then it makes a deeper impact, which is usually for most business women, that's what they really want. They want to make that difference in the world on a very deep level. It's like on that heart level. And so, yeah, it's really having that alignment piece so that it's not just my business is over here, and then over here I'll have some love, and then over here I'll have whatever, right? It's all connected. And anywhere that the way you show up in one thing is the way you show up in everything. So I mean, if it's happening in love, then guess what? It's also happening in your business, right? So it's like everything is a reflection. And so it's not this airy fairy concept of spirituality, right? It's like it actually shows up in every aspect of your life. And the faster that business women, that we can tap into that and that knowledge, the faster we can get results for the people that we're serving.
Yes, to all of that. I think it's so important for us to know that it doesn't stand alone. Like your business is not supposed to be separate from your personal life to your kids. And as I'm a mother and a wife, and I, have lots of pieces moving in my life with my businesses and everything, but literally I am so incredibly blessed because I've been able to step into this power and I am aligned. I know exactly every single piece is I do everything out of love. Like that is my big um, impact, is bringing more love to ourselves, to our lives, to our families, to the world, and then in our business, because that's where the real big change is. But that doesn't mean that I only do self-care for myself. My self-care completely directly impacts how I run my business, and vice versa. Yeah, I'm in it to make money because I have to, but I know that I have to make money because it's going to push me further and be able to make the bigger impact. So that's where that shift of thinking is. And when you're aligned with all of that and you really are leading with your heart or with love, the money, the bottom line, everything comes. And it comes so much easier. I remember before I knew all of this, everything was a struggle. Everything was hard. Everything, just to make $5 was hard. Now it's easy. And I know the impact that's made in the world because of what I do and what I'm able to provide in the world. So I think it's just a very powerful thing. And I'm right there with you in your mission of we need to raise the awareness for everyone so that all women entrepreneurs can feel that way and conduct their lives in such a manner that isn't hard anymore and it feels good and it feels easier. Doesn't mean that we won't have bumps along the road, but we know how to handle them at that point and we can just continue.
Right. And that's part of that inner dialogue that we get to hone and cultivate, right? Because we get to clear, as we were saying earlier, any of these old belief systems, especially around money. Even entrepreneurial women, we get to do that work, especially because there's so much like baggage around money for women, and also where we've been and where we're heading into, there's a whole new consciousness around wealth and around money, which is moving from the time per dollar and all that stuff and focusing on, basing the value on the transformation you're providing, right? Because that's really what business women are. I mean, we're really awesome at that, like getting in touch with the intuition aspect, getting into the flow, when we're really doing that internal work, we're able to like be in that flow. And part of that flow is rather than being like, okay, X amount of dollars per hour equals, whatever result we want, right? Like it's not so much that rigid concept, which is part of the old paradigm, right? Because some business women if they're not making the kind of income that they want, it's usually because there's some kind of hidden belief around money. And it's usually connected to the old paradigm and those old beliefs, rather than what we're entering into now, which is this, as we're seeing, there's this crumbling of the economic structure, even of the health structures, and also all these old things and issues that have been a thing for humanity is now coming up for healing, including this piece around money. And so until women entrepreneurs can get on board with, it doesn't have to be like time equals money, right? Or time per dollar. It's about, what transformation can I provide for my people? And how can I make it even like bigger for them, right? Like, and that's really the focus. So that's where we get to all kind of dip into, so that we can make the bigger difference, which is our ultimate goal. And also to be in that abundance, and not to be in this whole spirit of, well, I need to make money because I need to feed my kids, right? It's more of a, we are light workers, are actually transforming the energy of money into light. And so it's really this new encodement that we're creating with even the money piece, and that's what, when we are aligned with our work, with our purpose, we're actually transforming the energy of money into light. And so we're all being invited to do that on all those levels. And money is like one of those tools and areas of energy that gets to be transformed too.
And that right there is so important for people to know, that that is a part of it, because I think that's the one huge thing that holds most of us back, whether it is from opening a business or pursuing your dreams, or taking a trip, buying that thing that you really want. We stifle what we want because of the money piece, because we don't have enough money, or because we don't know where the money is going to come from to do X, Y, or Z. But once we shift those beliefs, I promise, like, the money just shows up. It comes and it's there because we're meant to do these bigger things, and we're meant to think bigger and step out of our comfort zones. And the more that we can put those and remember that it comes, the more we stay aligned, is incredibly powerful for people and for women entrepreneurs to really see and feel that first, so that they can get at least a little bit out of their fears, knowing that that piece is in there and that it will be taken care of.
Yes.
So, I love it. I mean, we could just talk forever, and it is coming up on our time. So I want to know, where can everyone find you? I know we have your website here.
Yeah. So thank you for asking. And most folks can find me at my website, yes, at alcantaracupuncture.com. And there are some resources there. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. I do have a Monday weekly show called Rise Up with Margarita, really inviting light workers to go into the next level of their power through that show, which is every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And you can also find me on social media. I'm often on Instagram and I think my handle's just Alcantara Acupuncture. And then on Facebook, same thing, Alcantara Acupuncture. And that's my Facebook page. And that's where you can find me most often. I do have Twitter and LinkedIn and all that, but I'm not as active there. And I do also have a gift for your listeners, where, it's, if you want to be in a more fuller expression of yourself, you get to be activated in your throat chakra power. And so I have a little, I love that you're just so prepared with all these titles. It's just amazing. So yeah, there's a throat chakra power activation video. And so that's a gift for those who are here for Jacqueline's podcast, so that you can open up into the power of your throat chakra. You can feel more in your fullest expression, because that's really what you're here to do, right? You're here to be in your fullest expression as this being, this spiritual being on earth, making an impact in the world. And And sometimes we silence ourselves, especially women. We silence ourselves a lot. That's what we were taught. And, look cute and just be quiet, right? Like in the corner when you're like 5. And, but now we get to shift that, and we get to be heard and seen and visible so that we can help others. And so this activation video is my gift to you so that you can start to really open up into that. And so that's where you can find me mostly: my website, social media, and also, checking out this free gift.
And I so appreciate the gift. It's such a wonderful gift. I highly recommend everyone go in, listen, get your throat chakra power activation, and follow Margarita. And I'm going to make it super easy because on the blog, all of the links, everything is going to be there, super easy for you to click on, follow you, and get the power activation. And I just want to thank you so much for being here today, for giving us all of this beautiful knowledge and really raising everyone's vibration on this podcast today. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just really honored that you invited me for this conversation. And, it's so important, the work that you're doing. And really, it's important to, just really encourage, women entrepreneurs and businesswomen to just really show up and do their thing, because the world needs us, in our power, and they need us empowered so that we can make our difference in the world. And so thank you for having me here.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better. And that's why I loved having you, is because you are right there with raising women, entrepreneurs, and just bringing a new layer and helping them activate into their own power. And I will continue to stand behind that mission. And I invite all of you to join us on that mission. Find out how you can activate your own power. Find out how you can really start changing your life. And both of us are here to help you and, make that journey easier for you. So make sure that you come back, go to the website, make sure you download everything of hers, follow her everywhere, and come back for next week's.
Follow me everywhere. Absolutely.
Yes, everywhere. Hey, I follow you on Instagram. I love hearing your stories. So it's so much fun. We get to have this beautiful community of women who are stepping up, and we're here to support each other. That's what this is all about. That's what the podcast is about, because I want to showcase women doing their damn thing and feeling good about it and stepping up there, because I am just so proud that I get to be a part of this movement and this activation of all of us. And I want to be here to support. So I'm super excited to have you today. Thank you again. And this podcast was sponsored by the Untethered CEO membership coming up soon, which you can also find out information on the blog for. So make sure you come back next time, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening today. Please make sure that you go over to the blog and follow all the links for our guests and get the downloads that we talked about. I would also really love and appreciate if you would share this podcast with your friends and family. And if you wouldn't mind taking just a minute to leave a review, that would mean the world to me. Thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart for listening and staying tuned. Can't wait to see you next week on the show.